Welcome to Beyond the Numbers, the podcast where conversations about wealth go deeper. This isn't about flashy success or one-size-fits-all advice. It's about real people designing financial lives that align with who they are, what they value, and the legacies they're building. We bring together voices from business, finance, law, and leadership to talk about the moments that shape them and the strategies that sustain them. Here is your host, Chris Everett.
Well, hi, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers, where money meets meaning and purpose. Today, the conversation that we're having is with someone who has fundamentally changed how I serve my clients at Everett Wealth Solutions. And I am over the moon. So for about 5 years, I was searching. 5 years ago, I was searching for an asset management partner, someone that could really deliver for my clients. Wouldn't it be, just think about this. What if your performance did well, but when the markets went loopy, you also did okay? That's what I found in our guest today. Having consistent performance combined with real downside protection for my clients is a major win. So after working with multiple money managers over the years, I honestly had become skeptical that both even could really exist. Then I found our guest today. I found his firm, I found his back office, his entire structure, and for the first time in my career 5 years ago, I actually could breathe. I could let go because I found a partner who consistently delivered on both fronts. So beyond exceptional portfolio management, what impressed me most about him was his humanity and his accessibility. So whenever I have a question and I need deeper insight, he's there. I can email him, I could call him. It's that kind of partnership approach that's really rare in this industry. But he's also a creator. He's chief investment officer, chief executive officer of his firm. He's an author. He wrote Cookies and Retirement, a recipe for success. And he recently hosted me at an event that combined business strategy with personal development, featuring a leadership strategist who's actually also an American hero. Hello. Who teaches about unlocking greatness and mastering self-discipline. So with all that, everyone, please welcome Brad Jenkins, CFP, Chief Investment Officer, Chief Executive Officer at MarketGuard. Brad, thank you for your generosity and welcome to Beyond the Numbers today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing a great job with that alphabet soup with all those letters behind my name.
Yep. So Brad, take us back. What really drew you into wealth management and specifically to investment management? Because there's always a couple of sides you could go into. So what led you there?
Yeah, when I think about it and the journey that I've been on, very, very beginning, what started to pique my interest is when I was in 7th grade, I was a teacher's assistant in the library. And I remember I would help and I'd put all the books away and I'd do everything you're supposed to do, like back in the day when people went to the libraries, right? You had to do research at the library. And I remember when I was done with all my work, I would always go back, I'd grab the newspaper, I'd go right to the financial section and I would just start reading. And I'd start looking up all these different stocks.
You geek. Okay.
I know. That's 7th grade, right? That's like everyone's, and I had a great balance in life. Like I was an athlete, I did a little bit of everything, but I was drawn to the stock market. And then, fast forward through life, it was always something that interested me. Now, back then, we didn't have the accessibility we have today with information and technology and opening up an online brokerage account on your phone in a matter of minutes. Those opportunities weren't there. But as I went through and, like most kids, then what happened was I was like, I want to be a fighter pilot. And then I want to be an astronaut. And then I ended up, as I was going through school, as I mentioned, I was an athlete. I had a lot of Division I scholarships for football. And I thought that was the passion. And all of a sudden I got bit by the acting bug. So I decided instead of pursuing football in college, I got some agents and I started acting in LA and doing some different things. But I was still always drawn back to the financial industry. And I felt a greater need to want to help someone. And when I got out of college, I was working with a technology firm, again, helping people create and build things. But there was just that voice inside me that just kept saying, calling is the financial industry. And it was around 2002, I finally said, you know what, if I keep feeling this draw, and that's where I sat down and I I started doing the investigation. What does it take? What does it mean to be in this industry? And my very first experience, this person who sat me down was listing off all the amazing things about the industry. And I was like, oh, that's great. And I remember I turned to him. We were at this coffee shop in San Diego, California. And I turned to him and I said, okay, this is all the stuff that's great for me. But if this is how I make money and this is what's good for me, how does the client make money? And I remember his response was, don't worry about it. They'll be fine.
Oh my
And I
God.
went, oh my goodness. So again, the deeper I dug, I realized that there was this mentality in the industry that I felt like the people who were building the investment solutions and selling them were the ones making all of the profits.
Yep.
And it was leaving out the most important component, which should be the only component, which is the client. And so as I was on that journey and it drew me in deep, it's where MarketGuard was birthed. Because as I started off in this industry as a financial advisor as well, and I know what it takes and I know what clients are looking for, I know what those individual investors need. We said, you know what? It's hard to find that solution. So at MarketGuard, what we did was we just created it.
Yeah.
We built, and I built it with the mindset of saying, if my parents needed a financial advisor, who would I want them to be sitting down with and what type of investments would I want them to have? And now graduate that over the last 23 years and counting, and you get what we have today, which is MarketGuard, which is now being nationally recognized and one of the really the top and fastest growing investment signal firms that's out there that's helping people. And the story I keep hearing is very similar to yours, Chris, where people sit down with me and they say, thank you so much because this has changed my clients' lives and it changed my life too.
Brad, I had no idea how much we had in common. When I first got started in the industry, I had people telling me what to do all the time. And first of all, I am not the kind of person you tell what to do. But they weren't telling me what was in my client's best interest. So I went out on my own. When I went out on my own, I started designing portfolios because I think it was back in 2000, 2001, 2000. Remember the triple drawdown in the markets that happened? I was like, what the hey, how am I going to stop this bleed? How am I going to help my clients? So I just started studying so much. And I found a way to stem the bleed to really help clients make money. But that's a lot of work, especially if you're trying to be a financial planner as well. So I learned that, first of all of my supply, I believe in God. And I believe that all of my supply comes from him. When you got that little nudge inside of you that said it's pulling you into financial service, I think that came from God too, but you can decide what you want. So I learned that if I just did the right thing for my client, even if it cost me, which is interesting in this business, right? But when I was raised, my father said to me, Christine, whenever I did something wrong, I was Christine, not Chris. Christine, you either do it right or just don't even bother. So that was inside my core. And I learned that clients really appreciated when you did the right thing for them. How about that? Interesting.
Yes.
And so I love that you have that piece inside of you because it just shows. It shows in everything that you do, every product that you create, every strategy, just really good. So,
well, if you don't mind, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but every strategy we create, like you talked about, before we ever launch it to the public, I put my own personal money into it first.
How about it?
Because if it's good enough for me to put my money into, if it's good enough for me to recommend to my family, my parents, my friends,
there you go.
That's that stamp of approval, that right, put your money where your mouth is. And when you ask somebody, where do you get it and I'm sure you've heard this, but where do you dedicate your time and your money, you'll see where their priorities lie.
Absolutely.
And so, that's a big thing for us is making sure that the integrity is there because MarketGuard's built on 3 pillars: excellence, integrity, and innovation. And we always believe in striving for excellence in everything that we do. We actually aim for perfection and we know we'll never achieve it. But if we aim for perfection, we'll land on excellence.
Yeah.
So we always do our imperfect best, right? The second piece is that integrity. We want to make sure we have the utmost integrity with everything that we do. And the innovation is we want to never stop developing and building.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest fabric, and if you said pick one of the 3 that you think is the most important, Brad, for MarketGuard, I would say it's the integrity piece, because that's what was lacking in our industry. And that's what we said, we're going to solve it. We're going to have a need for it. And the other thing that you're spot on with as well, Chris, is it's this idea that, I mean, you can build and create, I'm sure, amazing portfolios, but it's very hard to do that and service your clients and
It
take care of
is.
their needs. And that's the same challenge I faced, which is where, because of where MarketGuard grew to, it made sense to say, that's where the Lord's calling me to put my time, effort, and energy, because I can help more people there by partnering with people like yourself who are working with those clients, sitting at that conference room table, sitting at that kitchen table. My job is to help empower you as the advisor with the best possible solutions so you can help those clients reach their life goals.
I remember I have a client advisory board, and years ago, I invited some in and I said, I'm thinking of going out on my own. And they said, Chris, keep your insurance practice, keep your investment practice, and figure out how to blend the two and be what we need. Don't make us go find somebody else because you picked one side or the other. And that's really served me very well. What's interesting about looking at both sides of financial services, you have a better perspective on how to really help someone. And it makes for stickier clients. Do you know that? Because they know you're really looking out for their best interest. So you wrote a book recently too, called Cookies in Retirement. It's the recipe for success. Talk to me about that. And great title, but what was the inspiration behind that book? What do you really want readers to take away?
Yeah. So from a reader's perspective, what we want them to take away is that there's 3 threats to their money, and it's in this order. The first threat to someone's success, to their investment in their life savings, we believe is themselves. Well, we all know, and studies show this as well, right? Nobody take offense to that, because we would even be in the same category. We are our own worst enemy when it comes to our investments. And so what we want to help people understand and learn through this book is, what are all of those ways, from the behavioral finance pieces to just the psychological aspects and the physical things that can get in the way, that cause investors to make the mistakes that can cripple their success. That's threat number 1. It's the greatest threat. The second one is a bad advisor. So what we teach them in the book is how to vet out, how to go through and ask those questions to those individual advisors or whoever they're working with, to say, okay, you're a good one and you're on my side, truly here to help me, or this is about their benefit, not the client's benefit. And then the third and final threat is the market. So again, as we talked about, it's in that order, which means if we can help the investor really understand, and they don't have to be a PhD, they don't have to go to the Wharton School of Business, they don't have to go get, some doctorate degree. Anybody can understand this. It's just people who take the time to educate them on it. So the book's designed to help provide that education, help them understand that, then to know who really wants to partner with them, because we are firm believers that investors should partner with an advisor. Can they do it themselves? Sure, right? I mean, when I say sure, I say there's a small group of people that might do okay, but it comes with a lot of uneasy nights. It comes with a lot of angst. It comes with a lot of worry. It comes with a lot of questions. And so what we truly believe in at MarketGuard is, it takes the right mentality for the investor. You should do that journey with an advisor. And when you can get those 2 pieces figured out, the markets in a sense will take care of themselves, especially when that advisor has the ability to offer MarketGuard to their clients. So that's really what we wanted the book to accomplish. Now, where did it start? Especially with the analogy, it started with my grandma, who owned a delicatessen in 1950 in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And my kids, one day after my grandma had passed away, they wanted to make grandma's cookies, and I was making cookies with them. I was sitting there going, guys, this is similar to what Dad does at work. When you're building portfolios, you have to have the right ingredients, right? You can't substitute vanilla with vinegar. Even though all the other ingredients are right, you get that one ingredient wrong, you've ruined the entire batch of cookies. But even though if you get the ingredients right, you have to get the amount correct. Because if I use 12 eggs, 6 bags of sugar, 4 bottles of vanilla, and a pinch of flour, we get soup, we don't get cookie batter. But that's not where it stops. And this is where I think most money managers and advisors oftentimes get it wrong. They think, as long as I have the right security selection, the right asset allocation, right, the right portfolio or product, then all the problems are solved. The answer is no, because remember, what was the first greatest threat to someone's money? Themselves. So the emotions kick in, and that's where I believe the power of MarketGuard comes in, because of the component to say, the third piece of that equation is, we have to know 2 things. or the client risks burning their cookies, or in this situation, burning their life savings. And those two things we have to know: time and temperature. We have to get those two components right. And this is the thing, it's unique to every individual. Even if a husband and wife come in and sit down with you together, they each have a different time and temperature. So understand the ability to accomplish that. And that's also from what MarketGuard's designed to do, is to allow every individual investor, whether they're a couple, whether it's two strangers, it doesn't matter. They each get to set time and temperature to accomplish what they need to do.
Perfect. So how are you balancing the rigor of portfolio management with the human side of serving people like me and your clients?
And one of the biggest things we do when working with people like yourself is we keep it to a minimum. We have not opened this up to every single advisor that's out there because we want to have that personal relationship. MarketGuard's not my name, right? My name is Brad Jenkins, but my MarketGuard might as well be my name. And so this is 23 years of my life's work. And
It's your baby. Yeah.
It's my baby. And I did it to serve people. And so instead of it just keeping it underneath a rock and only allowing the few people who come in contact with me to get it, we said we do want to open it up for as many people as possible, but we can't allow this to fall in the hands of somebody who's not going to treat the client the way they need to be treated and to understand how to use the investment portfolios to the best of their ability. And so we keep that group small, which allows me to have you call me and say, Brad, I got a question for you. I have a client that came in with this year. Let's talk through this together. What suggestions? Being able to talk to the person who created it, that's huge. As you know, being able to get my team on the phone with our CFAs and you name it, you can speak directly to the source. And we didn't want to lose that. And so what we chose to do was to say, just like we want the advisors, yourself, to vet us and to go, do I want to utilize this solution in this firm? We also want to make sure we feel the same way about the individuals who are representing MarketGuard and utilizing it. And that allows us to keep that into a smaller network of advisors. And we believe through a smaller force, kind of like, instead of needing the entire Greek army, just give me the 300, right? Instead of needing the entire US Navy, give me the Navy SEALs. I want the elite, the people who are masters at their craft, who truly care about the mission that they're on. And that allows me to keep this in a very tight personal relationship with you and the other advisors.
So, Brad, I can imagine some people listening right now saying, yeah, sure, fine. Okay, you're great, but my money manager's great too. Okay. So help our listeners understand what makes your MarketGuard approach different. What's the core philosophy, the driving strategies? How do you stand out from everyone else?
Yeah, I would say, to simplify it, the thing that we always aim to accomplish are two things. And this is where the industry, I think, misses it as well. And I'm going to say it and people are going to go, well, yeah, doesn't that sound like the same as everybody else? It's not. It's not when it comes into practice. This is where we're different. We always aim to achieve the best possible return for the clients, but we aim to do that with the least amount of volatility.
Amen.
And to do so, it's more than just, oh, well, I put these checks and balances in, or I'm hedging with options, or we're putting stop losses, or we'll just kind of go with a gut feeling. No, we have taken decades and built these algorithms, these non-emotional, methodical, mathematical algorithms that are unique to every single model. And we keep just enhancing those and making sure that as more and more technology is available, utilizing AI and machine learning and getting these portfolios smarter off of each other, with the common goal that it's not just about returns, it's about the least amount of volatility. Because Chris, in your multiple decades of experience, how many times have you seen somebody come in that you're not yet working with, and they say, oh yeah, well, my returns are the same as yours, but when you look at the amount of risk they're taking, it's totally different. And in good times, they don't see that. It's not until the bad times, and here's the problem. Now they're hurt. Now they've suffered the loss. And one of the things we love to say at MarketGuard is that Noah built the ark before it started raining. He didn't wait for the floodwaters to start to rise to say to his family, uh-oh, guys, we need some wood. Give me some hammers and some nails, and we got to start building a boat. No, he did it ahead of time. And we think of that analogy with MarketGuard is what we've built here is something that's designed to capitalize on as much of that possible return on the upside. And when those floodwaters start to rise, when those markets start to get haywire, we're not now starting to build a boat. Or here's another part of the analogy, like a lot of times we hear in our industry, oh, it's the market, just hang in there, don't worry about it, right? That's like saying, well, it's a lot of water, but just hang in there, don't worry. Well, no, because when those floodwaters keep rising, that's detrimental. Here's the deal with MarketGuard. The ark is built. All we have to do is get inside and close the door, and we're ready for the storm because of the work we put in on the front side. And that's what makes us so different, and the ability to customize that to the individual. You can't blanket security. You can't blanket that approach. It's got to be unique.
And you know what? The most, I'm thinking about 2022. Do you remember when, you use the pen analogy a lot, where if stocks are going up, bonds are usually down and vice versa, right? But in 2022, what happened? They all went down. So I had clients coming into my office just crying the blues, saying things like, well, everyone lost money. And I was able to tell them, well, we didn't. And let me show you what we did. So the fact that you have all of this amazing technology and a real desire to really do the right thing shows up in my clients' portfolios. 2022 was a game changer for everyone. And if my clients weren't sticky enough already, they became even more sticky because they watched all of their friends and neighbors losing money and they didn't. And that was a beautiful story to tell. So walk us through the process. So when market conditions change, how does MarketGuard adapt while staying true to your core principles? Is there more that you want to say than you just already said about your process?
I think the biggest thing is just reiterating the fact, and it's those three words that I use, that it's non-emotional, methodical, and mathematical, because the hardest component that I've seen from now on people on my side of the fence, they'll build a strategy, they'll test it, they'll run it, it looks great, and it usually looks great when the markets are great. And then the markets start to fail, right? Because it's not if a stock market's going to drop, it's when and how far, right? And so what we've seen is when the people in our industry then start to come up with solutions, it breaks. And a lot of time it breaks because of their emotions. They start to panic. They see outflows. They see unhappy advisors, unhappy clients. They start getting the pressures. So they start making decisions. And this is where it gets really risky. The decisions they make internally often come with, a lot of times they're swinging out of desperation for that last minute home run. But whose money are they gambling with? They're gambling with every individual who trusted their life savings into that strategy. With us, we have our algorithm built. There's no human override. Now, I want to be clear. It's not robo trading, right? It's not these platforms that it's just a machine doing it. We have our team of human beings that are looking at all those feeds that come in on a constant basis to verify nothing's broken or hacked, right? But that signal that we get is something that we have always stayed disciplined to, and it's boded so well for us through all these years. I mean, going through very hard times from the end of the 2001, 2002, going through the 07, 08 financial crisis. Then you had pressure in 2010, again in 2011, 2015, 2018, 2020, 2022. I mean, there's all these headwinds, and each time the story is different. And what we have seen is that the consistency of MarketGuard and that algorithm continues to maintain and make those adjustments. So you have a human watching to make sure nothing breaks, but you don't have a human being going, here's what I think is going to happen, so this is what we're going to do. Here's what I feel is going to happen. That's where you get yourself into trouble. So the same discipline that we talked about in the book to help investors is the same discipline we implement in ourselves. And that's another thing that I think sets us apart.
Well, I think you also have some secret sauce. I don't want you to divulge it, but like when we, but when we, put portfolios against some of the big guys, like BlackRock or Vanguard, you come ahead, you pull ahead and with less volatility. I don't know what the percentage of the time is, but it's a very high percentage of the time. And so I think that's really speaks volumes for what you're doing as well. So I can imagine if an advisor is listening to this conversation, they might be a little bit curious, right? So from their perspective, what should they be looking for when they evaluate a money management partner? What questions should they be asking?
Well, I think the first one is how much of your own personal money do you have in the strategies you're offering?
Hello.
All right. Because again, where you put your time and your money shows where your heart is. So I would say that would be the first question, and I wouldn't just go with a blanket answer. I would ask them, "Are you willing to show it?" I am happy to pull up mine when somebody asks me. I'll be like, "Yeah, there's my account, and there it is, and that's the same thing that you have." I've always been transparent that way. Number two, I would want to know track record, and I would want to know history, not back tested, but I want to know the actual live performance. I want to see how is it like truly handled. And then I'm going to ask the questions of like, I want to know how they or the fund has handled all those different periods of volatility that I listed off, because they're totally different. You have a financial crisis in there. You've got quantitative easing. You have just a normal market sell off. Then you have the flash crash of COVID. You've got the 2022 where everybody said the 60-40 portfolio is dead. What we said was, no, it's just taking a nap. It's not dead, because those who bailed on it and ran to treasuries and CDs and cash got hurt because all they did was take a loss. They were never there to participate in the upside. So like you talked about, being able to put people into a position that they're not suffering those catastrophic losses or those big hits to their portfolio puts into a great position to just continue to adding gains, right? Was it Einstein who said that the power of compounding? I'm butchering his quote. So anyway, we all know that Einstein talked about compounding interest. It's the seventh wonder of the world, or the eighth wonder of the world, what he said. And that is so important because we talk about that in the book too. It's the mathematical catch-up game. It's sequence of return. If you don't understand how that affects your assets, it's one thing to see a line on a chart. It's another thing to know, how do I perform like that line? And that'd be the last thing I'd share with you that I would advise somebody to ask. And that is, how do I stay on that line? How do I keep my toes on the line so I become that? There's a lot of times like we'll show a graph on a screen and I'll say, do you see that line? They go, yeah. I'm like, do you like it? They say, yes, I love it. And I go, well, guess what? You're never going to get that. And they go, what do you mean? And I start to dissect the idea of, if you're going to get emotional and jump in and out, the second you get off that train, then you're in trouble and you're not going to start performing there. Now you're playing the catch-up game and you're not going to be able to catch up. Depending upon the amount of fees that are levied in there, all these different components, that if they cannot get that figured out, that line is a myth. So here's what a lot of investors do now. And sometimes the advisors, when they look to see what they're picking for their money managers, they just look at the line from the past and the average return. And they go, okay, it averages 8.5%. I'm going to get 8.5%. Great. But as soon as volatility comes in and things get scary and they make one move to pull out of there, or that money manager makes a bad move, and all of a sudden that line, that idea that I get 8% a year is no longer happening. Because remember, to get 8, what does that mean? You're going to have highs of 18%. You're going to have lows of -12, and it averages to those numbers. So always remember, the average has volatility. You can't expect to never fluctuate, but there are abilities out there. And we think at MarketGuard, we're one of the ones that provide this, the ability to mitigate that volatility. Because if we can only see a small dip versus a large one, we have a lot smaller of a hole to climb out of to get back on top to hit those averages.
Exactly. So let's transition a little bit. You recently invited me to attend a mastery event. So I want to it was amazing. Let me just start there. But tell my listeners about that event and what really was what birthed your desire to even create that experience for us.
So, as you mentioned before, Sean Patton was our guest speaker.
For folks that never heard of Sean before, would you explain who he is, please?
Yeah, Sean Patton is an amazing human being. Like you said, he's an American hero. And he was, as a young kid, he had that same desire I did, right? Of like, oh, I want to be a pilot, I want to be in the military. Well, he pursued it. Instead of just going to a random college, he said, I want to go to West Point. He even told one of the stories where he was late for class and had to run 10 miles in the snow, right? It was a very different approach than what a lot of people have for school. But he chose West Point. He chose the military. He ended up becoming an Army Ranger. Oh, actually, he wrestled collegiately at West Point as well. So not just at West Point, but he was also an athlete there. He became an Army Ranger. He went on to do Special Forces and become a Green Beret. He led men in battle for 14 years in Afghanistan, in Iraq. When he got out, he ended up being an MMA fighter. He is currently a gold medal world champion in a black belt of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He ended up being a business owner. He owns 3 studios. He has an amazing book that he authored that I've read that's incredible. Just the accolades. He's got an MBA. He's got, you name it. He's accomplished so much. And I have been looking for a business coach my entire career, and I've never found somebody for me personally that I felt checked all the boxes. And then I ended up hearing him speak at this men's event that we did. And I immediately went up to him afterwards and I said, "You're the type of person I've been looking for my career that I would love to hire and have help just guide and mentor and to have as a coach." And so he accepted the offer. He and I have been working together now for about 7 months. And it was about 5 months in. I mean, it's a game changer. I have seen so much progress for me, and I've seen so much value come out of it, of having a coach like that, that immediately my mindset, Chris, went to people like you and the other advisors that are at MarketGuard. And I thought, how can we help them master themselves, master what they do and who they are, and apply these to their business? Because who's the ultimate recipient of that? The client.
Yeah.
So again, MarketGuard of going, how do we help the client? We help the client by helping the advisor, because it's that advisor who's working with them. And I always think about it like this, it's like, if use a doctor analogy, the investor is the patient. You're their doctor. You're their care physician. You're taking their temperature, their blood pressure. You're asking those questions. You're the one pushing on the shoulder when they say it hurts. You're helping with the x-rays and what we are at MarketGuard is we're the medical supplier. So when you need the bandage, the machine to take the picture, you need the medicine, whatever it is, you're the doctor and go, okay, here's what I need to get. Boom. We'll help provide what we hope is the best, opportunity that's out there. You work with them because that's an ongoing thing. The advisor client relationship is not a photograph. It's not, oh, here's a snapshot. Great. Go do this. Take 2 pills. Call me in the morning. It's a movie, right? It's not a photograph. It's a movie. It's an ongoing thing that on the drive home could have been a car accident that just changed the entire plan you put into place 5 minutes ago. So that's why I don't believe in a do-it-yourself approach for investors. I don't believe in robo platforms. I don't believe in just saying, well, I'll use ChatGPT and just put my prompts in there and it'll tell me what to do. You have to have a human being that can connect with you, that has the skill set in order to do it. It's a long way to say, why did we do this? Why did we want to pour into the advisors? Because we ultimately wanted to reach your clients by helping make you the best possible individual. And I personally experienced that. So I said, I got to share this guy. And the response we had from that event was amazing.
Yeah, it was humbling to meet someone like that who has seen so much in his life, in the war experience that he had, plus mastery over just such tremendous self-discipline. It was an honor to meet him. I'm looking forward to speaking with him soon.
Excellent.
So I appreciate you making that available to us. So, it's funny too that you talk about the medical field. Do you know I wrote a book called The Prescription for Healthy Retirement? Yeah, I did. I was going to be a doctor, and then I ended up getting married instead. And so I didn't finish. And then I became a financial doctor. So there you go. Let's take a look at vision, some inspiration. And as you look at the current market environment and the challenges that advisors face, especially now, there's a lot of rumbling in the markets. What keeps you optimistic, not only about the markets, but about our industry?
I think that though we can all sit here and list off all the challenges that we face here in the United States of America, I think we can hopefully all agree it's still one of the greatest countries in the world and one of the most blessed.
I think so.
The most opportunity as well. If there wasn't, you wouldn't have millions of people trying to find their way into this country. So I would say that the thing that keeps me optimistic is I know that we are blessed to be here. And even Sean talked about that. Again, this Sean Patton from the event, because he's seen what's overseas. And he even told that story where the girl in front of him at Starbucks said her life was over because they ran out of pumpkin spice.
Oh my God. That was ridiculous. Just briefly talk about that, because no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, so this story here, he's sharing with us, he had just got back from one of his tours where he was over in Afghanistan and obviously fighting for his life and the person standing next to him and working to save these people that are out there and dealing and seeing some of the most horrific things you can imagine. And he's standing in line at Starbucks and he was just sitting there just because the big thing with Sean is he always talks about being grateful and having that gratitude. And he's sitting there just going, man, look at where we live. And I've even heard him talk about the blessing of just air conditioning. He goes, you don't realize how blessed we are just to have air conditioning.
Toilets.
Yeah. And toilets, running water, take a shower, shelter. So he's standing there in line, and this girl in front of him had ordered a pumpkin spice latte, and they ran out of the pumpkin spice. And she just went into this hysterical fit and just was like, this is the worst day ever. This is horrible. My life is over. What do you mean to tell me you don't have pumpkin spice latte? I wanted a pumpkin spice latte. And he was just sitting there so taken back going, you have no idea how wonderful of a life you live, that's your biggest challenge you're facing for today, when other people are saying, I don't know if I eat today. I don't know if I live today. I don't know if when I send my kids out these doors, if they come home today. And so his position of gratitude is incredible. It was really a blessing to be able to hear him go through all that and to see that.
Well, and so clearly freedom is not free. There's somebody pays a huge price for our freedom, and he was one of them.
And so answering your ultimate question, I would say what gives me optimism? One, that even though we live in a fractured place, it's still one of the best ones that's out there for opportunity. Number two, and this is me personally, but I'm a person of faith. I'm a believer in God and in Jesus. And so I read my Bible and I know the end of the story. I know how things are going to unfold. And so for me, when I see certain things happening, it's not this overwhelming fear. It's, oh, okay, that's the next step. So what is our job? Our job is to be the best stewards of our money. That's what the scriptures call us to do as well. So the way I look at it is, when things are happening, we will adapt and adjust to make sure that we're being the best stewards of the fruit that God has bestowed upon us. And then from there, I'm just blessed with the team that we have, that I don't get worried about when the next market drop happens. I don't get worried about why it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, because you never know it's over until it's over, and you don't know why until it's over. Typically, you get little breaths of it, but you don't fully know until all the dust has settled. And so for us, the confidence that I have is going on over 2 decades of seeing so many different market scenarios and events, watching our algorithm get our clients through that with the highest probability of success, having people come to us saying, thank you so much. This has changed my life. And we just keep doing that over and over and over again. So I would say that those are just a handful of the reasons that we have the confidence that we do in what we're doing here at MarketGuard, and regardless of what the markets throw at us.
So what's next for MarketGuard? Where are you taking the firm?
So again, huge blessings. In just this year alone, we have been pursued by major institutions to work with MarketGuard. And we ended up launching our own index. So an index, for those of you who are listening and watching out there, you have the S&P, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, the Russell, and all these different things. Well, MarketGuard took our stock portfolio, that same methodical quantitative approach, and we built it into an index. Now that index can be placed inside of other programs. So we have multiple banks that we are now working with, that our index can go inside there, specifically in programs called structured notes. So it allows somebody to say, I love the idea of how that stock portfolio works. Can we put it in this wrapper that adds like some safety elements to it? Like, for example, one of them is known as a principal protection note. Well, it does exactly what the name says. It's a growth note, meaning it gives the opportunity for growth, but if the market goes down, it protects the principal. So at the end of that contract, which is usually a very short duration, typically 18 months only, if the index is negative, meaning the markets are negative, the client gets all their money back. If the markets go up, they get to participate 100% with that up to a certain number. Now, there's other ones that let them go 100% up. There's all these different things. So that is a big next step. We have insurance companies talking to us as well that want to place our index in there. And that was a funny conversation, because when I had that conversation with them, they said, Brad, what kind of program do you want to put together? Now, remember, I've been in this industry as well for 23 years. I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And so I looked at all of them and not rudely, but honestly, I said, I want to build a program that doesn't stink. I want to build one that not only does the advisor want to put their clients into, but they feel confident that 10 years down the road, they have the same conviction of that when the client buys it, they say, on day one, I feel the same way on day 360 that I love having that. And I can't wait to have another one. And I said, and I looked at these guys and I said, because here's the problem. I started listing off product after product after product where I said, it sounds great when we go into it, but on the way out, no one's happy. And I said, MarketGuard is in essence my name. I told them the same thing. I said, if my name or if MarketGuard's name is going to be on there, I will only put it out there if we can build a product that has the integrity. So here's what this allows us to do. And to answer your question, we want MarketGuard to be a solution for a client on every possible level, whether they want to be, fully in the markets, if they want to be in full guaranteed protected products, or anywhere in between. So we are providing those solutions. And I think by the end of 2026, we should literally have every single one of those components covered so they can have the umbrella of MarketGuard, the mentality of MarketGuard, the mindset of MarketGuard, that each individual investment solution has its own approach, because the client has so many different approaches within their portfolios and their life savings. And we want to be able to service all of those. So like you said with your business, you didn't pick insurance or the financial advising side, right? The wealth management side. You said, I can do both. That's what we want to do. We don't want it to be here, use us for this, and then good luck with the rest. We want to be able to provide those solutions with everything.
Well, every person that I talk to is a whole person. They don't just divide themselves in half and go get some advice over here and advice over there and expect the best results. You have to have everything coordinated. I mean, that really goes beyond. When you're an advisor, like our practice, you have to speak with the CPA, you have to speak with the estate planning attorney, and everyone involved. So, Brad, we're going to draw to a close here in a minute. Let me ask you a question. Beyond all the reasons you've already given, is there anything else that gives your work meaning and purpose? Because the name of this podcast is called Beyond the Numbers, where money meets meaning and purpose. So is there anything else that you want to say about that?
I think it's probably not something new, but it's reiterating what I've said. And that is, we're truly here to help people. That's why it was built. It originally started as just friends and family, because I saw my friends and family needing help. And then I'm like, okay, this needs to be bigger than just friends and family. And so we took it to our clients. And then when it was with just our clients at our firm, I was like, we need to help more people. How do we do that? But how do we keep the integrity of what we're doing? And in our industry, people use the word fiduciary all the time. Yeah, it's a word that's out there, but let's be honest. Like they can say they put the fiduciary hat on, but is it really on? Do they really care about the client? Those are hard to meet. Those are people that are hard to find. And it's one of the reasons why at MarketGuard, when I agreed to create the distribution channel to do this, I said I have to have the ability to know every advisor personally, and also to politely ask them to leave if we don't share the same belief system. This is not about just what can I sell and go make money, because guess what? MarketGuard sells very easily. Like you said, it has great performance and it does it with less volatility. Who wouldn't want that? You're right. The end user, that investor, definitely wants that. But what we want to make sure at MarketGuard is that the person that they're working with, that advisor, knows exactly what to use for that client, how to use it, when to use it. So it's truly giving that client the best benefit possible. A true fiduciary, but not one because we have to uphold that due to a license or a regulatory issue. It's got to be a factor inside the individual. And I'm going to boast on you for a second at that event. And hopefully you don't mind that I share this story with everyone.
I don't know what you're about to say, but I trust you. So go ahead.
So this is the character that makes up who you are. And this is one of the reasons why I love working with you. And I love that you're out there carrying the MarketGuard name with your clients as well. My wife and both my daughters and my son was there, right? And they were all there, some to listen to the event and some to help out and whatnot. It was a very fun family affair. And one of my daughters that you had a chance to drive over to the event with, I mean, she's sharing personal stuff with you. You took the time to listen to her, to talk to her, to coach her, to provide her with incredible advice, to pray with her. And that was a game-changing thing. And then to share that with me, I mean, even now it's like very emotional, because who does that? What business associate does that? Somebody who's truly a friend, somebody who truly cares, somebody who has that, that same internal light and that vision and that drive. And those are the people that I want to be associated with. That's why we feel so blessed, Chris, to be able to work with you, that you've chosen us and that you're out there as the ambassadors you are with your clients. So thank you to you and everything that you do.
My absolute pleasure. So if you're anyone, an advisor, just a person interested in really learning more about proper investment structure, why not pick up a copy of Cookies in Retirement by Brad Jenkins? Or if you're my client, I'll give you a copy. So really, take a good look inside of yourself. I like to say this: when you are waking up in the morning, we all have, a chance to put our feet on the ground. What's the first thing you tell yourself right there? Are you going to go just sit quietly and kind of soak in what's right for the day, so that when you take in everything that's right for the day, you can go out there and leak? Like I leaked on your daughter, if I could put it that way, because I had it built up inside of me and it just came out. And it was my absolute pleasure to do that. So I just want to encourage everyone to find an advisor. If it's not me, I'm not right for everybody. But if it is, talk to me and let's introduce you to all of the benefits of having a MarketGuard experience. So Brad, thanks for being such an exceptional partner to Everett Wealth Solutions and for joining us today Beyond the Numbers. And we'll see you all next time on Beyond the Numbers. Have a great day.
Beyond the Numbers podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.